Hello everyone, in today's tutorial we are going to be learning how to make this padded turban cap. If you're a new viewer, you're welcome to my YouTube channel. Please do well to subscribe. Don't forget to also click on the bell icon so that you get notified whenever we upload new tutorials. And trust me, you won't regret it. To all our old subscribers, thank you so much for always supporting me. Now to the materials needed, we have our raw silk fabric, fiber or foam, measuring tape, your scissors, matching color of thread and needle. This tutorial we are working on a turban cap using raw silk fabric. Now if you are going to be making this design without lining, 1 yard will be more than enough. However, if you want to add lining, you will need more than 1 yard of fabric. So the design has a V-shaped pleated band. It has a lined base. The base is going to be lined, and the design on the base is padded. And for padding, we'll be making use of fiber. Then there's handle for tying, which is always optional. So before now, I've cut out my fabrics. I want to explain how to go about it. So you'll get your 1 yard of fabric, and from the 1 yard, you measure out 30 inches. So you're supposed to be having about 6 inches left, but at times it doesn't get to 6 inches. You may be having 5 inches or 4.5 inches left. That is okay. So I have my 30 inches here by the full length of your fabric. Go ahead to fold into 2 equal halves. I'm trying to illustrate how to cut your fabric. Go ahead to fold into 2 equal halves and unfold. This is what I get. Now from one end, go ahead to measure out 14 inches. Now you have 30 by 60, which is the full length of your fabric. Fold your fabric into 2 as seen in the video, and then measure out from one end 14 inches. Cut it and divide at the middle. That will give you the fabric for your band. Then out of the leftover from the 36 inches from the 1 yard you have, you cut out the fabric for your handle. So that excess fabric, about 4 to 6 inches, that excess left from the 36 inches, that will be the fabric for your handle. So after cutting out your 14 inches from here, you should be having about 45 inches by 30 inches left. That is the fabric we're going to be using to create the design. For your band, you need 2 pieces of fabric. The measurement is going to be 15 inches by 14. 15 by 14 inches for your band. So for your base, you have 14 inch. I'm very sorry. You have 30 inches by 45 inches for your base. 30 by 45 inches. Now remember that this 30 by 45 is the fabric left from 1 yard after cutting out the band. Okay, so if you want the exact measurement for the base, 30 inches by 33 inches will be enough. 30 for the length, which is the stretchy part, and 33 for the width, which is the non-stretchy part. However, I recommend that you use the full length of your fabric after cutting out the band to first sew, and after sewing you can cut off the excess, because at times our sewing allowance differs and our padding material can also differ, but 30 by 33 is still okay as the exact measurement for the base. Moving on, we have the fabric for lining. The measurement is 30 inches for the length on the stretchy part of the fabric by 15 inches for the width, 30 by 15 inches. Now, if you are going to line your fabric, which I recommend, 1 yard of fabric will not be enough. So you will need this extra piece of fabric for lining. You can use the same color or you can use a different color. You can even decide to use satin fabric instead of your raw silk fabric yes, any other fabric of your choice, and then any other color that matches with the color of the turban cap itself. That's fine. And for your handle, I have 2 pieces of fabric here, 4.5 inches by 12 inches. 4.5 inches by 12 inches, cut out twice. That is the fabric for the handle. Now get the fabric for your base, and we are going to be pleating it. So let's assume this is the fabric for my band rather. This is the fabric for my band. I'll go ahead to fold this down. I'll fold it in twice and then place on my sewing machine to stitch it from one end to the other. Thereafter, I'll flip to the other side, and then you see me make my pleats like this. After pleating, I'll stitch it down. After pleating, I'll stitch it down. I'll do this until I get to the end of the fabric. Then repeat the same thing for the second piece of fabric that I have. So I've done that before now, and these are my fabrics already pleated and sewn. This is the fine side, this is the wrong side. So I'll go ahead to place one on each other so as to get that V shape. And then I'll get my pin to help me hold it at the middle. As soon as this is done, I'll set it aside. I'll get the fabric for my base, which is 30 by 45. You see me folding into 2 equal halves to enable me locate the midpoint. Then I'll get my scissors and then make a notch at the midpoint. After which I'm going to place this like this. I'll open it up. I'll get the fabric from my band and I'll place on it fine side facing fine side. I'll take this down to my sewing machine and stitch it from one end down to the other, and after which I'll get back for us to continue. So I have my band already joined down to my base, and this is what I have. So when I flip it over, this is my round band. Sorry, this is my V-shaped band with my base. Now if you look carefully on my fabric, you will see that I have marked it out, though the lines are a bit faint. Now from the band to where I have this marked line, I measured out 1 inch, and I had to mark it out from one end of the fabric down to the other end. So on your fine side, measure out 1 inch from the band and mark it. After which you measure out 4 inches from this marked line down to this other marked line here. The measurement is 4 inches. So the measurement for this is 4 inches. So you first of all measure out 1 inch from the band, mark it to the end, then go again, measure out 4 inches from the previous marked line down to this point. Just measure out 4 inches and mark. After which I'm going to pin down my fabric so that the pin will be resting on this 1 inch marked line and this 4 inches marked line. So this is what I mean. So I've pinned down my fabric. This is how you pin to the end. The pin should rest on the 4 inches marked line as well as the 1 inch marked line. Okay, so when you sew, you're stitching, your sewing thread should be on this line and also the line at the back. Now just place this on your sewing machine and stitch it down from one end to the other, so that when you measure from this marked line down to this middle part here, you will have 2 inches. When you flip over to this other side, you measure from this marked line down to this side, you'll be having 2 inches. So after this 1 inch mark line, fold, and your measurement on fold should give you 2 inches. You stitch it down to the end. After stitching down, we insert fiber in it. You can also insert your fiber first, insert your fiber inside, then close down your fabric and stitch to the end. However you want to do it, it's okay. So I'm going to stitch this and then get back. So right here I have my fabric, and if you look closely you will see that I've sewn that part. Okay, so from this marked line I measured out 1 inch, then from this sewn line down to the middle is 2 inches, so you can fold into 2 and sew down, or when it's open you measure out 4 inches. This marked line is the 4 inches. I've sewn it and this is how it's looking like. After that, this is what I did. I measured out another 1 inch. So from this sewn part down to this marked line is 1 inch, and then again from this 1 inch down to this marked part, I have 4 inches. So 1 inch, 4 inches. Now fold into 2 and sew down again from one end to the other, so that unfold this way. After your 1 inch allowance, you'll be having 2 inches. Now as soon as you are done with this, measure out another 1 inch, then another 4 inches. So you measure 1 inch, 4 inches, you fold and sew down. So you just do that until you have 4 pieces. This is my fiber. Okay, this is my fiber, and for my fiber I have 4.5 inches and the length is 26, 4.5 by 26. So this is it, it's really thick. Now after sewing each step, you can insert your fiber into it. I'm going to give you 2 ways you can go about this. The first one is, immediately after sewing each step, get your fiber, fold this in, and then with your scissors you'll be able to pass this inside that sewn fabric. So this is it, and then I'll go ahead to pass this in. So right here I have inserted my fiber to it. Make sure the fiber doesn't get to the very end of your fabric. So this is how it is. That is for the first one. So you can go ahead to sew the other 3 steps that are left, and then insert your fiber in one after the other after sewing. Or better still, this is the second option, fold this in like this, fold it in, then place it, this is the wrong side of our fabric, place it on the wrong side of your fabric within that 4 inches that you marked earlier. Okay, so this is the first line after the 1 inch, then this is the other 4 inches. So place it in between, fold your fabric into 2, take this down to your sewing machine and stitch it down from one end to the other with your fiber inside. This is way much easier and simpler. So that is all that we have left to do for this fiber work. Now I'm going to go off camera to sew, insert my fiber. You need 4 steps. I've already done 1, so I'm left with 3, and as soon as I'm done with all 3, I'll get back what's going. At this point I have my 4 steps already sewn, and I'm also going ahead to insert my fiber in it. Now remember I cut out 26 inches for the length of the fiber, but after passing it inside the fabric, or should I say during the process of passing it inside the fabric, the fiber now stretched and the length increased to about 29 inches. So as soon as I was done passing it inside my fabric, I now further decreased it down to 24.5 inches for the length of the fiber. Now when you passing your fiber, it's going to be standing like this, and then as soon as you are done passing it inside, that is making your sewing stitch and passing your fiber inside the 4 steps, you have to press it down flat and lay it down flat like this, because that's the nature of the design. So that is it for that. Now coming to the fabric, remember that I had 1 yard and then I cut out the fabric for the band, then 45 inches was left. That was what we used in creating this padded design here. So I'm going to take the measurement of the fabric that is left after creating the padded design from the 45 inches, and when I measured it earlier I was having about 23 inches for the length. So from this 23 inches, we'll now create the excess fabric for the base, and what is left and use it as lining or set it aside. Now we have 23 inches left. Out of 23 inches, we can use 10 inches as the base, okay, as leftover for the base. Then we'll have 13 inches, or we can try to divide it into 2. use 11.5 inches or use 11 or 12 inches and then cut off whatever is left. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing next. Then we're going to go for lining. So right here I'm going to now divide it into two. Half of 23 inches is 11.5 inches. So I'm just going to measure out 11.5 inches and then mark it. Then I'll get my scissors to cut it out. So after making my padded design, from the last sewing stitch down to the point, what I left is 11.5 inches as the excess fabric at the back to accommodate the hair. That is to say, out of 45 inches we are removing 11 inches. That 11 inches left over, that means we use about 33 inches for the length of our design. So if you are cutting out your fabric, anywhere between 30 to 35 inches is okay as the width, while the length, which is the stretchy part, is 30 inches. Then the width, which is the non-stretchy part, is anywhere between 30 to 35 inches, but 33 inches is more better. So I'll cut this off. And so now that I'm done cutting out the excess fabric, this is the wrong side of it. You can see how it is. Why? This is the fine side. Okay, this is where I cut off. This edge is where I cut off the excess fabric. Now for lining, you can use a different color of fabric for lining, preferably black fabric, okay, or a matching color of fabric with whatever color that you are working with. Okay, I have an excess fabric and the width is 15 inches. Remember, the width is the non-stretchy part of the fabric, while the length is still the same, 30 inches. This is the fabric I'm going to be using for lining. So I'll flip my work over this way. Now if you look carefully, I have my pleated band here, and then I'm going to be placing the fine side of my lining fabric on the wrong side of my band, and then I'm going to pin this down. You see that sewing stitch which we used in joining the band to the base? It is the same sewing stitch I'm going to be using in joining the lining fabric down to this our design here. So the fine side of your lining on the wrong side of your band. Now pin it down from one end to the other end, then place it on your sewing machine and stitch it down from one end to the other so as to join it together. I'm going to do this and I'll get back. So right here, right here I have my lining fabric. Remember, the reason why I had to get a different fabric from lining is because the excess fabric I had left after sewing my padded design was 11 inches for the width, and that will not be enough. Now I've placed the fine side of my lining fabric on the wrong side of my band. I use the same sewing stitch to stitch it down to the very end, and this is it. So this is the wrong side, and then I will now place this down like this. So this gives me the inner part of my cap, while this is the outer part of my cap. So this is it. At this junction, I'm free to now fold this into two equal halves like this, and then take it down to my sewing machine. I'll stitch from the band like this, stitch this way. If you want it to have a backdrop effect, stitch like this, stitch this way, stitch to the end, and then stitch down to this very end. However, if you don't want it to have a backdrop effect, you can just stitch straight. You stitch it straight down to here, and you have a lot of excess fabric to cut out. Now if you don't want to add a handle, to the design you are working on, at this point take the actual head size or head circumference of whatever you are working on. Let's say 11.5 inches, 11 inches or 10.5 inches, depending on how stretchy the fabric is. It is from that very point you start sewing down. Okay, so take note of that. I'm going to stitch mine and then get back. At this point, I have my fabric already sewn from the band down to this end and down to this very end. So this is how it's looking like. The next thing we're going to be doing is be creating a running stitch at this edge so as to form gathers. Now your running stitch starts immediately after the band from this end down to this very end, and for that I have my matching color of thread and needle here. So this is my fabric after making my running stitch. This is my fabric after making my running stitch. This is the wrong side. Gradually I will turn this over to the fine side. Remember I said you have to flatten this out so as to get that particular design that we are working on. So this is the back view after making the running stitch. Now that that is done, we'll be adding a handle nest. To do that, fold your cap into 2 equal halves to enable you get the midpoint. Now from the midpoint, measure out 8 inches on both sides and mark it out. So I have my 8 inches here. I also have my 8 inches here. Set this aside and then get the fabric for the handle. Go ahead to fold your fabric into 2. Remember it is 4.5 by 12 inches and you need 2 pieces of this. Fold into 2 and stitch down from one end to the other. Then turn your fabric inside out. So I already have both pieces of my fabric sewn and turned inside out. The next thing I will do is to get my turban base and then get the first piece of fabric from my handle. I'll start by folding in the fraying edge this way. After folding it in, I'm now going to place it at the top of my 8 inches mark this way. Then I'll take this down to my sewing machine and stitch down on it on that 8 inches mark. So after sewing down, it comes down like this. Then on flipping over to the other side, the same thing applies. Get the second piece of fabric, go ahead to fold in the fraying edge, and then you're placing on that on your band on that 8 inches marked line, and you're stitching on at that point so that after sewing it will come down. So I'll finish this and then get back to show us the final output. So as soon as I'm done stitching my handle, this is it for this side and this is it for this other side. So go ahead to adjust your work and we are done. So I'm going to place it now so we can get the final outlook. This is how it looks like, and with this we have come to the end of this tutorial. Thank you so much for viewing. Please do well to like, to share and to leave comments in the comment section. Kindly follow us on Facebook and on Instagram as well as TikTok. We are there as JenieConcept. Until our next tutorial. Bye.